It is NBA trade deadline day, and across the NBA, coming down to the wire, we've got a lot of moves going on, and we've got you covered at Locked On Podcast Network with the very latest. I'm Kylen Mills, very excited to be joined right now by Locked On Magic host Philip Rossman-Reich, breaking down the latest deal going on with Orlando and the Lakers. Sources saying the Lakers sending a second-round draft pick with Patrick Beverly to Orlando in exchange for Mo Bamba. What are your initial reactions to this one?
Yeah, my initial reactions are that the Magic found a place to land Mo Bamba. He's been out of the rotation now for the last few weeks. They signed him to a 2-year deal, but it was more of a flyer to see if he kind of could take that next step, and he's really struggled to do so. He's been a solid shooter, a decent shot blocker, but his defensive awareness just has never really kind of hit the levels that the Magic needed him to. And Mo Wagner kind of beat him out for that backup center spot. So I was very curious if the Magic were going to be able to find someone that would take his salary. I think he's paid $10.5 million this year. It was not guaranteed next year as well. I was curious if they're going to find someone to take his salary. There was always a small hope they could get something of serious value for this team, but it looks like it's going to be kind of a salary dump as the Magic get a second-round pick to take on Pat Beverly's salary here.
Yeah, and you already just mentioned to me right before we started this that you don't expect to see Patrick Beverly ever suit up for the Magic. There's already reports out there that they will likely buy him out. Do you expect that to happen, and what do you see being the outcome of this move?
Yeah, I expect Magic to buy out Pat Beverly. I mean, Beverly is a veteran. He's clearly someone who can help a playoff team, maybe give them that kick in to get over the top. And, the Magic certainly are in need of veteran players. So it's not a terrible idea, but they're pretty loaded at that point guard spot. They have Mark Fultz as their starter. They run Cole Anthony as their backup. Those are both guys that this Magic team wants to develop. And, as close as the Magic are to a postseason spot, they're 3 games back of the final play-in spot right now. Their season isn't about making the playoffs this year. And so I don't think they necessarily need that extra boost that Pat Beverly would give them. And, he's a guy that's kind of earned the right, I think, this league to go out and find a championship or playoff level team to go play for. So I don't think he fits the Magic's long-term plans. This was more about kind of clearing the deck a little bit with Mo Bamba and giving them, a little bit more than $30 million in cap room to play around with this offseason.
Yeah, and that money can go a long way in the offseason. And you kind of mentioned already just that Mo Bamba didn't really get a chance to develop maybe fully in Magic. They have a loaded front court right now with Paolo Banchero. You've got Wagner, Isaac, Wendell Carter Jr., several talented players and pieces that this team can build around. What do you expect them to do in the offseason? And, what do you feel like the next moves are for the Magic?
It's going to be really interesting to see how the Magic play this offseason, because the way that they played this year, they only have 22 wins. They're 13th in the East. They're 3 games back of the final play-in spot. But the Magic, I think, really do believe they have something to work with here with Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner as kind of the centerpiece players. There's already been a ton of rumors, and hopefully nothing's changed while we've been talking here, but there's already a ton of rumors that the Magic could be a team that chases after Fred VanVleet in free agency. They could be a team that, again, now they have a little bit north of $30 million in cap room if they wanted to go chase after a guy like VanVleet in free agency or go after a max level player in free agency. Not that there's a whole lot of them. They have the ability now to kind of do whatever they want to do. They could be a team that is aggressively going after the next disgruntled star. That is a team that flames out in the playoffs and says, hey, we're going to hit the reset button. The Magic could be a team that's welcoming with open arms. They have draft pick young players. This Magic team, if they want to be, could be very aggressive this offseason to help them go from where they are now, which is a nice, promising, developing team, into the next, kind of big playoff push team in the Eastern Conference.
Do you expect that to happen? Do you expect them to be aggressive in the offseason? Like, what is the long-term picture, and what are you hearing when you hear from General Manager John Hammond? What is his philosophy, I guess, and how close do you think the Magic are to being a playoff contender?
I mean, I think that's the big question. I mean, if there's one thing that Jeff Weltman and John Hammond do really well is keep everybody guessing. We all remember the draft when everyone believed wholeheartedly that the Magic were taking Jabari Smith Jr. and then they ended up taking Paolo Banchero and just shocked the entire league with how close to the vest they kept everything, each directing local media a little bit. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know what Jeff Weltman and John Hammond are going to do. We've seen them be very smart and frugal as far as creating this cap flexibility, finding young players who may be misvalued around the league. They traded for Markelle Fultz. They traded for Bol Bol. They kind of rescued their careers a little bit. but we haven't seen them as be aggressive. And I think we're getting to a point where the Magic should be aggressive. Looking at how the Magic have played, they're 17-13 now in their last 30 games. They are in the postseason race. Players are openly talking about trying to make the playoffs, as much as management, as much as the coaches are trying to kind of tamp that down. Hey, we're focused on every single day. The players know where they are and they know where they want to get. I do think next year is a season where the Magic have to make the playoffs or have to be in the postseason. It's time to start taking those steps forward. And so if the Magic aren't going to go after big fish, I think that they have to at least really shore up this rotation, bring in some veterans, bring in some shooting to really make sure that next season can be successful and can be a season that goes deep into April and May.
All right. Well, with offloading that Mo Bamba salary, now they've got some money to work with in the offseason. It should be a lot of fun.